Hello everyone and welcome to my channel. My name is Crown and today we are going to have some more stories that I hope that you will enjoy. But before we start, it would be so much appreciated if you would subscribe to the channel, like the video if you enjoyed it, and maybe leave a comment down below. These simple clicks would mean a lot to the future of this channel and really reward the effort that I put in every day. And now, without further ado, let's go! First story. Aggressively speed through a residential neighborhood? Now your car is wrecked and it's your fault, dumb Baba jerk. So this was quite a few years ago. One day my kids were skating in a quarter pipe when this truck comes around the corner with a Baba driving. He sees my daughter come off the quarter pipe and instead of slowing down, he floors it and rips past my house still accelerating while yelling something about keep out of the road jerks. I yelled also slow down. The following weekend I'm out mowing my lawn and I see this guy coming, so I walk out to the edge and try to wave him down to talk. And Baba floors it again, laughing like a maniac as he goes flying by with his engine redlining. This guy is a nut. So I went to the hardware store and picked up 3 of those 3-foot orange safety cones. And I put a sign on each one of them. Slow down, residential neighborhood, kids at play. A few days later I come outside and find the cones have been run over. I already know who did it and I'm pretty angry. Like really angry. And in that anger I came up with the most brilliant plan. I went to the hardware store and purchased 3 new cones, along with cement and steel bars. I filled those jerks with rebar and cement and let them sit. After the cones were ready, I put them back out on the side of the street by the house with the same 3 signs as before. And it did not take long. 2 days later I'm in my garage tinkering and I hear that freaking truck engine revving up as the Baba goes pedal to the metal. I look up just in time to see his truck steer towards the shoulder to run over the cones. And it was a beautiful sight like none I've ever seen before. He hit the first cone with his bumper and the cone fell forward and rotated the base up towards his engine block and actually lifted the front of his truck upwards, as his front passenger wheel made a direct connection with the second cone and launched his truck up even higher in the air. The third cone also made a direct hit on his right tire suspension as his truck came down to a screeching halt. There were fluids running out from under his truck and his passenger tire was angled inwards at a 90-degree angle. Baba was very mad, and he started screaming about how I wrecked his truck and how I'm going to pay. I yelled back and said, well, let's call the cops and get them out here to make a report and you can tell them how you were racing down to the road and intentionally ran over the safety cones. Or I can call you a tow truck. Which will it be? We called a tow truck. And I never did see Baba drive down my street anymore after that incident. I was worried he tried to get revenge, but nothing ever happened, and we moved out a couple of years later. Next story. HOA yells at me for training guide dog and grilling, then loses position on board. Some background you need to know about me. I volunteered to train and raise service dogs. My fiancé says clearly I have a look that says I'm weak and a pushover. I have constant encounters with Karens who are just not ready for my responses when they engage me. I have been in the military for 17 years when this happened, and I was responsible for managing over 130 service members. I am anything but a pushover. I work with civilians, so I have cultivated a polite exterior because I was counseled for looking unapproachable and scary to civilian counterparts. This story. As I said, I raise service animals, so I fall under the ADA when it comes to regulations on where and what I can do with my puppy. We will call him O. O is an amazingly behaved black lab of 6 months. I have cultivated a level of trust and obedience where I can leave him in a sit with other dogs around so long as I'm in eyesight he will stay. I have raised a few pups by then and I would never have done that with them, But O is amazing, and I can't wait to get him back after his tour of duty helping Mrs. C be independent. I meet the HOA Karen one Saturday. Me, my fiance, and O were going to head on a road trip to visit my fiance's parents. In our preparation, the last on the list is always getting the kids to use a bathroom before a long trip. So we head out. O gets busy, and I grab a bag to clean it up. I put him in a sit-stay and hand a leash to my girl, and I start walking to the trash can. It's about 100 feet from where we went. I have clear line of sight to the dog, and he is sitting pretty and alert and watching me intently for a hand clue or voice command. As I'm walking, I hear a womanly screech. I don't really hear it well, but it sounds angry. I ignore it and keep walking to the dumpster to deposit my waste bag and turn around to head back to my two favorite people. It is then I make eye contact with the HOA Karen. Well, she's your typical Karen. Not an inch over 5 feet and has the same circumference. The short chopped hair that says I'm the manager now. She looks me in the eyes and I finally listen to her shrill scream of your dog must be on a leash and in your hand. My county state law says so I will call the cops. Now I don't do ignorant, and respect given is respect earned. I was willing to try and de-escalate. My fiancé owns a condo and is super non-confrontational. So for her, I tried to bring it back down to civil levels of discussion. In a polite but firm voice, I asked if she even looked over at the dog before she started yelling at me. She just bellows like a banshee again. I repeat, this back and forth happens 3 or 4 times. At this point, she hasn't given respect, so none is required to be given back. I break out and my voice is loud, firm, and clearly states I'm done with your nonsense, lady. I clearly tell her if she would have taken 2 seconds to look, she would see the dog is sitting on a leash in someone's hands. She stops bellowing at me, looks and turns a bit red in the face and musters, "You could have just said thank you." Which I curtly replied with, "Shut the heck up and get out of my face." She waddled quickly off, tail tucked into her condo door. My next meeting with her was when I was grilling. The HOA states no charcoal grills and no smoking barbecues. I was born in the north, but as a military guy moved to the south when I was 2, there is a difference between barbecuing and grilling. Barbecue is 12 plus hours with coals of hardwood and wood smoking. Grilling is cooking meat on a grill instead of the stove. The HOA put out a reminder, no barbecuing on the premises and no coals. So I was like, awesome, get a small propane grill. It's not barbecue, but it's better than nothing. So I was out grilling and I hear that banshee cry, all too familiar now. Again, she didn't come up to me and talk. She just started screaming. So I looked her right in the eye and with the same firm voice I tell her, "Shut the heck up and go away. If you say one word, I'll be the one calling the cops for harassment by an HOA member." She sputtered something about no grilling or open flames, and I told her to get lost and to show me in writing and by someone other than her. She waddled off and then I was approached by the HOA president with the HOA bylaws and said to read them, during which my fiancé started a conversation with them about another issue we were having with them. She was in the middle of having the state attorney's office ask some questions about activities they were trying to force her into paying for. It wasn't going well for the HOA and she took this opportunity to introduce herself. While she may not be confrontational, when it comes to small things she will stand up for herself when it comes to it. Her introducing herself changed everyone's tone, and they became oh so polite. Karen tried to play the victim to her and say I was mean and could use some manners when engaging with people. I love my soon-to-be wife. She let the lady paint her tale of how she was a victim. And when she was finished, she looked her dead in the eyes and said, "You know I was the one holding the leash. And I was standing right here when he was grilling. So no, you got the same respect you gave." Then Karen bailed and faded to the black. And that's when the president of the HOA stepped in and told me I cannot have the grill, that I can be fined, and I needed to follow the rules of the HOA or the next time he'll be the one calling the police. It is my job to enforce regulations in the military. I spend hours reading instructions. Nothing pleases me more than when I can shove the black and white in a jerk's face at work to get my guys what they are owed, or to force them to do the job right. So you want me to follow the rules? Copy that, buddy. So I began my research and I found a few interesting things. 1. No HOA bylaw can be enforced if it's not in a state database. 2. This particular HOA's bylaws were last updated 1994, and this happened in 2016. 3. They state they follow my county's fire code, which follows NFPA. 4. Finally, the gem. The exact lat and long coordinates of the HOA's property lines. So I get a login for the state's database and print the HOA's bylaws. I print the NFPA, which states in a multi-family home, you can store propane tanks no bigger than 2.7 liters, but they can total no more than 4.5 liters cumulatively. Then I go to Lowe's, get a robe, tape, measurer, and stakes. I pull up Google Maps and mark the HOA boundary line on it. And lo and behold, what do I find? A drainage ditch that is city property not 10 feet from where I was grilling. So I take my coordinates, my stakes, and carefully mark off the section of city property. Now for the revenge. I call the city/county fire departments and request a permit to grill on said city property. They said go for it, and that I didn't really need a permit for it. No one would care. I insisted and they said it's my $50. They issued an event open flame. So with both permits it was $100, but I got permission from the city to grill there for 6 months. The next day at 07, I went to set up. I carefully measured so I was at least 3 feet into the city property. And set up my cooler with enough meat and beer to grill for thousands of people. Then waited for the fireworks. It did not take long for Karen to come screaming at me. I mean, I was 10 feet from the community pool, and 3 feet from the sidewalk gazebo that led to the pool. I just hit record on my phone and politely told her she has no need to yell and I'm breaking no laws. She kept screaming about no grilling and how she's tired of me and she's going to get me arrested and kicked out if it's the last thing she does. She hasn't liked me since she saw me and has just been waiting to get me kicked out. And now that she knows which condo is mine, it is just a matter of time till she finds something. And she goes on and on. I guess me being polite and showing zero fear was pissing her off, and she tried to come take my stuff. Big no-no. As she reached for my cooler, I broke out my military voice and told her that if she so much as brushed a finger against my property, I would remove the offending body part with force if necessary. And this sent her scurrying off again. About 20 minutes later, I see 2 cop cars pull up, and also Mr. HOA president himself. He's all chummy with the cops, and as they approach, I hear him say, "Yep, same guy. I already told him once before he can grill on the HOA grounds." He comes to a stop about 10 feet from me. One cop stays with him, and the other keeps walking up to me. I have a big grin on my face. I can hardly wait for the conversation to happen. The cop is slightly off-put by my joyous face. It's like giggle when I ask what seems to be the problem, officer. I get informed that I'm in violation of the bylaws and have been warned once already, and I'm going to receive a ticket for disturbing the peace, for threatening the HOA when they were trying to enforce the rules, and a ticket for illegal storage of flammable substances, on and on. The last was, if I didn't back up, I will be arrested and removed. Now that he was done, I first handed him my permit from the city to grill. He took it, walked back to the president, and they discussed it for a minute, then returned, saying you can't get a permit from the city to grill on private property. I then showed him the coordinates for the HOA and the Google Maps gridded drawing and my current GPS location. Mind you, I'm still smiling while handing sheet after sheet to him. because the grid was not all on one sheet and had addendums. Took about 4 minutes to explain it to him. As I was about to hand him more, he held up a hand to stop me. He then asks how long I had planned this with a smirk. I told him, oh, about a week. And he gave me a look of disbelief but moved on. He then asked me if I threatened Karen, and I just played back the recording to him. At the end, he said, "Nothing seems out of place here. You are free to go." I stopped him and asked if I could file a complaint for HOA harassment through him, and he said no. The city clerk office is the correct place, but he would document harassment by the two of them and file the report for me. In my state, it is illegal to be harassed by the HOA. It comes with jail of a few months, fines as high as 5K, and immediate removal from the board, and the possibility of recovery of damages. Serve them right. And now we have reached the end of today's stories. Thank you for watching and see you next time.